So, one way to just contextualize all this, because I've been throwing out a few different terms, and the reason I do that is because I want to give different ways of understanding this process. But as a scientist, the way that's really helped me understand this is in terms of three programs that are essentially running the mind. Program A is phylogenetic, which is just a fancy way of saying that it's based on evolution. It's based on our evolved tendencies, our genes, basically, and as well as epigenetics. So this lays a very foundational framework for what mind finds desirable. In other words, we all at birth come pre-programmed with a fear of the dark because our ancestors for millions of years were living in an environment where predators had a much better sense of smell and seeing than they did during the nighttime, so they should fear the dark. This isn't to say that, this is something we kind of outgrow as adults, but it's born into us, the fear of the dark. We have a natural evolved tendency to like sweet and salty foods because for millions of years, our ancestors, these were nutrients that were actually pretty rare on the African savanna, where we were evolving for millions of years. So there were, anything sweet, a fruit basically represented an immediate source of glucose. And salt was pretty rare, but again, it's a nutrient that we need. So these are all, those are just three examples, but there are many of evolved predisposed tendencies that we have. And it's basically just program A. It's like a very general software program. It just says, these are the things that helped your ancestors survive for millions of years. So you should pay attention to them. But program A doesn't know specifically what environment you will be in, which is one of the reasons that our Homo sapiens was actually so successful at surviving, was that we were so adaptable to new environments. So program B is ontogenetic, which is a fancy way of saying that it's our conditioning. It's a whole lifetime of learning new things. So, we come as a baby very, very plastic, especially in those first 5 years of, the brain is extremely plastic, meaning adaptable, and it actually comes with too many neural connections that we then prune away as we learn what's useful in our environment. And this is basically everything that makes you unique in some sense. I mean, the conditioning is everything you learn from your parents. It's everything that you've ever experienced during your life. Your brain has been learning based on all that experience, what it should specifically pay attention to or how it should specifically crave. So, all the commercials that we're fed, it's basically conditioning us so that the next time we see, a Pringles can, we'll start to think, okay, Pringles equals salty crunchiness, which equals survival. So you can see this program B builds on program A. And the food companies are very smart. They know this, right? So that Pringles has a special team of engineers that, are designing the perfect crunch because our ancestors actually loved insects. They were very nutritious. So that's why we like crunch, or that's one of the hypotheses. So, and then the perfect amount of salt. So program B is, again, it's all the conditioning, the social conditioning, the cultural conditioning that has molded our minds into what they are now. And then program C is basically mindfulness in some sense. It's having the metacognition, the ability to observe your own mind in action, and then based on that, to reprogram your mind in the way that you think is going to make you happiest. So program C is noticing how programs A and B work. It's noticing that chain of causality that we just talked about. And then it's making new decisions based on what you know is going to lead to your happiness. An example would be like the traffic example, right? You get triggered. Now, why did you get triggered? You got triggered because you've been honked at before, and you just don't like that kind of behavior, that loud noise. It's in the past, it's happened before. And so it created anger. that's program B, is the kind of the conditioning part, right? You've been honked at before, you know what that means, you don't like it. But then even deeper, program A is getting activated because basically this is some kind of a threat, a threatening move that was made against you. And so, in kind of our tribal days where our brains were evolving for so long, this was maybe a threat to your status. It was an insult, and so you had to activate these like angry hormones in order to prepare to fight this person and show them that you were a better member of the tribe or whatever it was. So programs A and B have been activated in traffic, and now you're uncomfortable, you're angry, you want to honk back. But using program C, you notice this pattern playing out, and you say, instead of reacting, because I know that's not going to lead to anything good, it's not going to make me feel satisfied, I'm just going to let this process go. I'm going to bring my attention back to my breath or back to my body, and I'm just going to let that process go and not going to feed into the programs A and B, because that is no longer useful, right? That is not leading to my well-being. So this actually does create neuroplastic changes in your brain. Those networks that fired when someone honked at you will not be as active the next time it happens. And eventually it will cause no reaction in you if you continually use program C to make a wise decision using mindfulness. And this is mind training. And like Sean said, so there's like two aspects to this. There's the formal practice where we sit down and cultivate this ability for self-directed neuroplasticity, for mindfulness. And then there's the everyday process of bringing this into your daily life, noticing how the mind's attention is moving, noticing what's triggering and agitating it, and letting go of those things.